Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining us at Quirks, New York. I am delighted to be on stage with Nestlé, talking about how they're using AI native research to keep a leading brand ahead of the changing consumer.
So hi, everybody. If you go to the next slide, we can do introductions right now. My name is Patricia Descamps. I lead the Insights organization for the nutritional frozen meal brands at Nestlé, Lean Cuisine and Vital Pursuit, and I'm here to talk about Lean Cuisine and the amazing work and partnership that we have had with NIT over the past few months.
And I am not Liam Hickey. Liam, unfortunately, was caught in Chicago with all of the storms. I also came from Chicago, so I don't know if that makes me a better traveler or, but my name is Kevin Donnelly. I am a global client partner with NIT. I work directly with Patty and the Nestlé team, so very easy for me to get up to speed and fill in today. And we're very excited to walk you through a challenge, a solution, and how we partner together to ultimately solve it.
Yeah. So welcome, everybody. Yeah, you can sit. We're just about to start. So for those who didn't hear who I am, my name is Patricia Descamps, Patty Descamps. I work for the Nestlé organization, and I lead the Insights organization that is behind Lean Cuisine. So I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you know Lean Cuisine as a brand? I like that. Great. If you think about our business, Lean Cuisine is one of our nutritional meals brand, has been in the marketplace for many, many years, around 40 years. And we started as a brand that has been laser focused on, especially on women, offering low calories, a low calorie proposition, right? The reality is like we have so many consumers that really love our brand. We have been, again, in the market for so many years. This is the only market in the world that has Lean Cuisine, and we still have this brand as part of our portfolio. So it plays a very important role as part of the Nestlé organization. However, when we started, as I mentioned, the brand has been laser focused on low calories, right? So probably for those who know the brand, know that this is a 250 calorie meal, 300 calories a meal, which is an amazing meal at the end of the day for so many consumers. But the reality is like if you think about yourself, if you think about the new consumer, the evolved consumers behaviors have been changed, right? So the reality is like consumers are looking for more protein, fiber, variety of products and flavors, et cetera, et cetera. So the reality that our business has been facing over the past few years is like we have to change. The consumer is changing, and we really wanted to survive in the marketplace. We have to change with our consumers. So that's the big challenges that we are facing here. For me as an insight lead for my organization, at some point I have to stop and say, okay, the consumer is changing. We haven't changed in a little bit. So let's go back, let's talk to the consumer, and let's understand what they need, what they want. Understanding that we have a history, but we don't want to move away from that. But what do we need to do differently to keep our consumers that are buying our brands, but at the same time, for those that are not buying and they think that our products are not so relevant anymore? So that was the question. That's the job to be done. How can I come back to my leadership team and my organization and say, this is what we go and need to do? And to do that, and to be able to talk to the consumer, to talk to those that have been buying the products, to those that are not buying the products at all, we decided to partner with NIT. Okay, so, but as you can imagine, Nestlé is it's a high standard organization that we don't want to trade off anything. Okay, so we need results, we need consumer feedback, we need insights right away. And at the same time, we need very robust information that it's going to help us to make the best business decisions. So understanding that speed is important, but at the end of the day, it's all about the right information, the right insights that we can get from our consumers. That's why we decided to partner with NIT. So if you go to the next slide. So I am here to talk about one big project, just for you to know a little bit about what Nestlé and NIT did together. And the objective of this, as I just mentioned, the job to be done is to go back to my leadership team and say, Lean Cuisine is an amazing brand, but the reality is like we have to change. So the goal of this project, it was a massive project that we worked together. It was to basically help inform my organization, make a recommendation about the growth strategy to be able to help this business go to the next level, right? And we were focused on 3 specific consumers, and that brought a lot of complexity to this project. As you can see in the middle here, we have millions of loyal consumers here in the United States that we needed to understand why they keep buying our products. If consumers have been changing. At the same time, in every single category, we have lapsed consumers, so we wanted to understand why they leave us. Right? Why they left the category, why they're not buying Lean Cuisine anymore. And ultimately, from a household penetration perspective, we need to bring new consumers that have never bought the category in our Lean Cuisine brand in the past. What are the gaps? What are the opportunities that we need to bring to our consumers to, at the end of the day, make them feel that this is the right brand and the right decision for them in the meals category. So ultimately, it was a very, I would say, it was a huge project that we have to put together. The intention was to go back to the leadership team, to go back to our cross-functional team, and make a recommendation, but not sharing insights. This is what the consumer want. No, it's really bring those insights and make them actions.
So, what did we end up doing? When you think about Lean Cuisine, it's a brand that obviously everyone knows, everyone sees, everyone has probably bought and tried at one point in their life. But the questions that Patty came to us with, there were a lot of them. There were 3 distinct audiences, there was a lot to figure out, and there was a lot to unpack and really help the brand determine which direction they were going to go forward with in the future. And so when you think about which type of research or how we were going to go about doing it, qualitative would have been great to really unpack each audience, gather that depth and context that would have really helped us unpack everything that they need, what they're looking for from the category, what they think about Lean Cuisine, how to win them back, or make them a first-time consumer, or continue to increase share. Quantitative would have been also very good to help gather a robust sample size, meet the really tight timeline we were under. And so there was really when Patty first came to us, there was a discussion around what sort of trade-offs do we maybe have to make that we don't want to make. And NIT was able to respond and say, you don't have to make those trade-offs. We are able to layer quantitative questions followed by qualitative questions in the same study and turn them around quickly because of our AI native process. The second thing is our AI native approach allowed us to take those qualitative questions and have them be AI moderated qualitative questions. So the AI probed even further dynamically based on what respondents were saying, what they were interested in, and aligning those follow-up questions to the true questions and learnings that Nestlé and Lean Cuisine were looking for. And then the AI that's built into our AI native platform helped analyze those results, instantly tell Patty and her team, what are the biggest takeaways? What should we really be focusing on? But most importantly, instantly translate those results into a report that she could ultimately share with leadership, executives, and other stakeholders internally. So when most organizations think about a tight timeline, I think the immediate assumption or hunch is that there are probably some trade-offs, some rigor, some strategic components that you're going to have to sacrifice. But with NIT, not only because we can build quant plus qual into the same study, that because we built AI into each step of the end-to-end research process, from design to sampling, through analysis and reporting, but we also equip Patty and her team with a full-service research team to help not only drive that AI in the right direction, make sure that we're optimizing everything that it's going to give us, but also to help validate everything that it generates, right? Eliminate any uncertainty, skepticism that may come with an AI native product, right? So you get that full service, rigor-enriched, strategic experience with a much tighter timeline and, frankly, a much affordable price point than I think a lot of research projects typically come with. Yep. And what that enables us to do is really level up Patty and her team. We take everything off of their plate, free up bandwidth, enable her team to be really impactful throughout the organization. When you think about a tight timeline like that, they tend to get bogged down with each individual step of the process. They have to get really scrappy in trying to achieve each and every task at hand. With our team's ability to do that and leverage AI every step of the way, we can do it quickly, we can do it effectively, and then we can enable Patty and her team to have a greater seat at the table, be more involved in the decision-making process, and that is truly what NIT is all about. Everything that we do ties back to researcher-driven AI. All of the AI products that we develop, everything in our platform is built by researchers in service of researchers. They are tools for insights teams to use within every single project, and they are truly built as extensions of your expertise, your subject matter knowledge, to be more impactful, to have greater reach throughout the organization that you're working with.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the impact. I'm just going to say one thing based on what you just mentioned. How did Nestlé use AI for this project? I'm going to say two things. We didn't talk to AI personas. We didn't talk to synthetic data. We didn't talk to unrealistic consumers, not at all. We talked to real consumers, more than 1,500 consumers in less than 4 weeks. But we use AI as an enabler, as a tool to help us through the research process and ultimately go back to our organization and say, these are the insights. Do you have any follow-ups? Let's use AI to answer those follow-up questions. So I just wanted to be very clear that the way that we have been using NIT and their AI capabilities is to reach real consumers, but at the end of the day, use that as an enabler, AI as an enabler to help us get closer to the consumer in a faster way. The impact, I have 2-3 slides here, but the impact, it's much more than that. So I'm going to start with the speed. I mean, my organization, one day asked me, Patty, we have a problem that we have to solve, and we can wait 4-6 months to get responses from your insights organization about what's going on. So we have a meeting in 6 weeks that we are expecting for you to come back and tell us not only what the consumer wants, but at the same time, it's like a recommendation about what we need to do as an organization to be able to take Linguist to the next level. And that's one of the beauties of this project. So it's the speed and put all the resources together at our disposal to be able to go back to our leadership team and say, okay, this is what we need to do based on conversations with 1,500 consumers. So that's number one. The video. There are so many video capabilities out there. I'm going to say from a need perspective, videos are an amazing way to empathize with our consumers. The insights organizations across different companies, they do a lot of empathy work with the consumer, but it's not about me as an insight person. It's about how my leadership team, my cross-functional team, can empathize with the consumer. So we use videos to tell the story about what's going on, what are their needs, what are their wants, and ultimately make a recommendation. The other thing from a video perspective that we really like about the need capabilities was like, you share a video with your leadership team and they say, oh, this is fantastic, but you can imagine, they have so many follow-up questions. So I had the ability myself and my team to go back to the platform and based on the questions that we got and check, okay, how I can go back to my leadership team, answer those follow-up questions with videos so they don't hear the insights from me, from Patty, from my organization, they hear it directly from the consumer. So videos and using the video AI capabilities that they have really allowed me to not only have an amazing conversation with my leadership team and my cross-functional team, it's also like an even follow-up by using the voice of the consumer. Ultimately, I think I mentioned this, I'm sounding very repetitive right now, but this two-phase project really allows to understand what's going on in the marketplace, what's happening with our consumers, and ultimately is like what's the next thing for Lean Cuisine, right? What we need to go and do, what are the decisions that we will need to make that are gonna be organic for our brand based on what our consumers want. And that's the beauty of this project that we put together as a team. We did a qualitative analysis when we talked to 250 consumers. Qualitative, it wasn't 10, it wasn't 15, it wasn't 250 consumers to understand the why, what's happening with the category and why they're not buying anymore, or why they're buying our products. And then we use the quantitative phase with 1,300 consumers, and we validated hypotheses, we validated questions that the leadership team has, our team had, and ultimately the combination of this pretty comprehensive analysis in 4 weeks, we were able to go back with a very robust recommendation about what we need to go and do. So that's basically that was a big impact for my organization. We have seen results. I can share results with you guys, as you can imagine, but this is a very important information and project that we use to, again, take our brand to the next level.
Yeah. And what this really helped, I think, Patty and her team, and I would encourage everyone to think about it the same way, is really reimagine the research process. And what I mean by that is reimagine the endpoint. I think that's the most important thing. With the old way of doing research, or the way that a lot of folks will think about doing research, you have the task at hand, you develop a study, you deliver a report and insights, that decision is made, and then the organization moves on. And that those insights, those learnings, that research, the longevity in which it's impactful with different teams and stakeholders is fairly limited in how long it really makes that impact. With running research with NIT, you not only get that same exact experience and those insights and those learnings to share with stakeholders faster, but that research and those learnings live on NIT's AI native platform for other stakeholders to tap into at any point in time in the future. So that research can be used to build upon for future studies. It can be used for other teams to tap into some of those videos in order to learn about things about consumers they weren't thinking about, or explore white space, or just truly like try and gather more empathy around groups that they may not have a great handle on. And so that all lives in the same insights ecosystem, very specific to Nestlé, and each team can use it, can continue leveraging it, and that those insights and those learnings just go a lot further and a lot longer, and that currency lives longer within the Nestlé organization. So if you take away 3 things from this process, from NIT and how we work with Nestlé, I'd say the first thing is that ability to gather quant and qual at scale. The AI makes it incredibly easy to not only set that up, design it, collect it, but most importantly, analyze and report out on that. The second thing is our ability to compress timelines within each step of the research process. We not only deliver it quickly, but we free up bandwidth with the insights stakeholders that we're working with so that they can focus on some of the more strategic components and decision-making and actionability that exists within the organization. And the third thing is what I just mentioned around rethinking the endpoint, right? That research that you run should not be the final piece of that project. It should be a jumping off point for other teams and other projects and other learnings that will ultimately come thereafter.
Q&A? Questions?
Oh. Any questions?
Clear?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Very interesting and very insightful to see how it works inside. So my question is about AI respondents. Very often, or like AI-enabled analysis. Oh. Very often when we do AI-enabled stuff or experiment with that, it sounds exactly the same like as anything else. So it feels like the AI really flattens and makes it very, less surprising. compared to if a human would explore the same ideas and the same thoughts. How did you learn to navigate around this, I guess?
I can talk about how NIT approaches that. I think the big difference for NIT is keeping that research team in the loop every step of the way. So we have full service researchers that you're all very familiar with working with. So they're not only able to tell the AI ahead of time, like, these are the things that we're most interested in learning about, but here are some untapped territories, here are some new frontiers that we're also interested in hearing about that we should also focus on from an analysis and reporting standpoint. So they're able to guide the AI up front so that human is in the loop every step of the way, and then on the back end, they will review everything that the AI generates, and they're the person that was guiding it in the first place, so they know exactly kind of what it was trying to achieve, what it was focusing on, so they know what to look for. They've also used it quite a few times, and so they're able to really leverage that human component that is sometimes missing with a lot of AI tools to help tell that story, polish it a little bit differently, round it out in a different way, where AI doesn't always tell that story like a human being would.
I think from a Nestlé perspective, I mentioned this, we're using AI as an enabler. This is a tool, but we have to validate what we get from AI. There are so many platforms out there. You guys, it has a AI capability that we talked about in this conversation, but at the end of the day, it's the human that the human organization that should go back and, number one, check or what we are getting, it's really right. And number two is like, how can we humanize those results that maybe AI is giving us in a way that, again, it's going to help the team, the decisions maker, to empathize with that consumer, and for that to have the ability to make business decisions. So the way that we see it as an organization, it's an enabler, but it's not at all a replacement of human brains and capabilities and insights team at all. It's not how we think about it. Yeah, and then we have somebody there.
Building off that, Patty, how do you think about change management and bringing your team along with all the new technology? So from your view, it's not different, but obviously the way they approach the insights, working with NIT or some other AI technologies.
Yeah.
So how have you thought about integrating that in your team and helping them?
Yeah. So again, and from an insights, I am not the IT person at Nestlé at all. So from an insights perspective, I think you mentioned this very well. I have been bringing my team along with me. I'm not the insights person that like to keep the insights until the very end to go back and share. What I love about NIT and what I really love about their capabilities is, at the end of the day, my team, my marketing organization, my technical and tech organization, my finance organization have the ability to be with me along the way as we're learning these insights, so they're going with me. So that's the way that I like to approach this. They had access to their platform, and we have multiple conversations. I am the person that at the end of the day, it's in charge to ultimately put together the insights that we're going to bring to our leadership team and our cross-functional team. But if you have any questions, if you're curious, if you really wanted along this journey with me, absolutely come and join me. So I'm trying to work in a very collaborative way with my team, but I have been educating them that what's the right thing to do, what are the best practices that we have to keep in mind, and ultimately we need to validate and we need to wait for the final recommendation, the full insights until the end of the conversation. So there is a fine line that I think the insights teams across, we need to educate our teams just to make sure that they're not making wrong decisions out of bad information because we have been using AI as an enabler. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. My question was about, with products like GLP-1s and Ozempic, has that impacted products like Lean Cuisine at all?
Yeah, I think every single category. Yeah, that's a great question. It's not a trend. anymore. Nestlé has a brand that I lead as an insights person. It's Vital Pursuit, and it's all about GLP-1 users. It's designed for GLP-1 users. Yes, I mean, it's 20, 30% of the population, depending on the time frame that you see. Now it's used and have been using the medication. And GLP-1 is not only impacting food, meals, beverage, it's impacting clothing. It's impacting, I mean, every restaurants. I mean, it's many, many categories. So yeah, I would say in connection with this conversation, we have been keeping an eye on the GLP-1 consumer, how they have been evolving, and we have been using AI capabilities to help us understand in a very dynamic market how these consumers are changing over time. So yes, that's my short answer to your question.
Kind of related to that, but going back to your capability, I know you talked about how this platform was great. You were able to go back with follow-ups.
Yes.
If that had been a follow-up from a stakeholder of saying, like, how are GLP-1 customers affected by this? Could you have done that with the platform and used that as something and then gone back to that base of respondents?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that ties directly into what you're referencing, where it's rethinking that endpoint of the project. If there are follow-up questions, you can not only jump in and prompt the AI to dig into the data that we have, whether it's this study or others that you've run with NIT or uploaded with NIT, and the AI will dig through that qualitative data set, the quantitative answers to help answer that question as much as it can, and it can also help you design a follow-up study among the same types of consumers, the same exact consumers, whatever makes the most sense to if there is like a pointed question that absolutely has to be answered.
Yeah. If I can add something here, this is a very cost-effective solution. And so in my mind, I love the question because at the end, you don't know what the follow-up questions are going to be coming from a huge organization that you're going to be sharing this insight. So my recommendation is like let's think a little bit, let's be very thoughtful when it comes to the design of the project. And even if you don't have Lean Cuisine is not going after the GLP-1 consumer. We have a brand dedicated to the GLP-1 consumer that we launched like a year and a half ago. So that's a brand for GLP-1 users, but it's growing. So for me as Patty, as an insight person, I need to think, okay, what if a GLP-1 question comes up? So having the right design to be able to go back to the platform and answer the GLP-1 question, if I wouldn't thinking about this beforehand, maybe the capability is there, but I wouldn't have the right group of consumers to answer the question. So being very thoughtful when it comes to the design is super important. I think everybody knows this. And working with this team really allowed me to elevate the design of my insights, not only the insights themselves, the design of the insights to the next level. So,
and to put that in perspective, I think the ability that I could go in right now and ask the AI, we didn't target GLP-1 consumers? Across those hundreds of videos that we collected, did any of them mention the role that the GLP-1 that they're on is playing in their decision making, how they think about a brand like Lean Cuisine? It would not only answer that, but it would also build out, in all likelihood, a show reel of videos of those actual consumers talking about how the role that GLP-1s are playing in their needs in the category and all those sorts of things that might answer that question directly, hopefully, or help shape how we're going to ultimately, launch a follow-up study shortly thereafter.
Hi, thank you so much. I have a question about the qualitative AI capability. So, preface by saying I'm a qualitative researcher, and I conducted some interviews this past week where I had an interview guide, right, the same set of questions, but based on the person's expression, the tone of their voice, conversation changed. I wonder how smart the qualitative AI is and how responsive it is.
Yeah. It's very smart. But I think to your point, the upfront work when it comes to these qualitative questions is incredibly important. Not only the role that the insights, stakeholders that we're working with play in developing that discussion guide, how many prompts and probes we want it to ask, but also having our research team guide it in a way to look out for different tones or types of wording or different things that might impact what we want to follow up with next. And we can actually train it on a lot of that to make sure that it's picking up on things that a human qualitative moderator might in order to actually ask the follow-up questions, the appropriate follow-up questions that will yield the greatest insights.
But I agree with you. I mean, there is nothing better from an insights person to talk to a real consumer and spend 90 minutes talking about whatever you want to talk to. However, you need to understand what you're trying to do. You need to understand the trade-offs. When you're thinking about qualitative and at scale, in this case, you talk to consumers, you get videos, you can get a sense of, maybe not from 90-minute conversation, but you can get a good sense of how they feel, what they want. So again, it's all about trade-off, it's all about what you're trying to accomplish with this methodology. And ultimately, in my perspective, I'm not gonna fully replace the traditional qualitative approach for qualitative at scale, but I need to understand where I am, what's my budget for this, what are we trying to accomplish from this, and really use the best methodology that you have at your disposal.
Hi, I just have a quick question about the Nestlé approach. Do you have globally all your insights team working with this platform, or is very ad hoc based on the project and the team and the geography?
Yeah, this is a US.
We have a US team. We have global teams as well.
My question was more for the Nestlé team. Like,
Nestlé, sorry.
I don't know, I'm not aware of the global team using NIT in particular. There is a global insights team for sure that have been using AI capabilities. But from a Nestlé perspective, we use a variety of methodologies. We're not only using AI because it's the new thing and it's cheaper and it's going back to what's the objective of this. We're just trying to understand what's the best methodology. But I don't work for the global team. This is a 250,000 people organization, so it's a huge organization, but I would assume yes.
Yeah, I'm also in a big organization, and that's why I was thinking about the opportunity of leveraging this type of platforms.
100%, yes.
Upload all these videos from globally, global research. You can get much richer long-term insights from it.
Great question, yeah. I think she has a question.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
My question is about the qualitative part, picking up signals. I want to ask a computational question. How do you manage not to just pick up the strongest signal, but ensure you're not missing the weakest? Usually that's the nugget.
Yeah. The platform and the AI native capabilities, it will certainly tell you what is the strongest signal. It will not leave out any signal that also exists. So it kind of will provide you more of like a tiered ranking of what's coming through, what people are mentioning the most, what the team should be aware of, especially based on the analysis plan that we'll put together with you ahead of time. And that's where our human research team comes into play as well, where there might be weaker signals that are still critical to the decision-making process and the team still needs to be completely aware of. So calling that out ahead of time is pivotal, but also the AI's ability to just not weed out weaker signals, but still make them present, make them part of the overall report. It won't rank them as high as like the strongest signals, but it'll still call them out as things that the team may want to be aware of.
Great question. Yeah. I think we're at time.
Are we at time?
Okay.
We're over time.
Well, thank you guys.